come on in, see cameras if you need to amend anything, and I will see you at the other side. Oh no, I can't see my head. I'm gonna have to I'll have tidied up by next week. There we go. Okay, super. So feet hip distance apart, hands gently down by your side, and let's just start with some shrugs through the shoulder. So deep breath in. As you breathe in, raise your shoulders up towards your ears, and then as you breathe out, just melt the shoulders down, away. Think about those shoulder blades gliding up your rib cage and then down. Keep moving with your breath. Deep breath in and out. Lovely. We'll do 3 more. If you want to, you can close your eyes so you can really connect with that deep breath and feel the difference between tension when your shoulders are raised and when they're relaxed. 1 more. And we're going to use this final one just to set the shoulders down into the back pocket. So think of 2 magnets connecting your bottom of your shoulder blades down here. So we've got that lovely long neck position. We're going to reach down with one hand. The other hand's going to reach up towards the ceiling, and we're just going to pulse here 3 times. So we reach further, once more. We come back to the centre, roll the arm down and swap sides. So reaching down with 1 and up with the other 1, 3, breathing out as you pulse, 2, keeping that neck nice and long, 1, lovely. Go back to that first side, breathe in and out. And again, back to the centre. Same again. Imagine little weights in your fingertips pulling you down towards the floor. What you should feel is a lengthening between your your pelvis and your rib cage as you stretch over. Good. Try not to let those shoulders come up here. We want them down, tucked into the back pockets. We'll do 1 more. This time we'll hold. So after your 3rd one, just hold here. Imagine you're holding a really heavy bag of shopping with your bottom arm, and it's just pulling you down towards the floor. Lovely. Breathe deeply. Make sure you're not twisting. So you're stood between 2 freshly polished panes of glass. There we go. You don't want to smudge that glass. Come back to the centre. And then we're going to go over to that second side and hold. So you've swapped your shopping bag over to the other hand. It's just dragging you down to the floor. Again, just check in, make sure you're not twisting. You're as flat as a pancake. Breathe deeply. 2 and 1. So you can come back to the centre and bring your arms out in front now. So again, just have a conscious effort just to melt those shoulders away from your ears. Start to gently draw your lower tummy towards your spine. So we're just creating a little bit of band of tension underneath the belly button. We breathe in, and as we breathe out, we rotate round. Keep your belly button pointing forwards, but let your heart and neck twist. And then we come back to the front, and we go the opposite way. So you're isolating the movement to the upper back. So the pelvis is pointing forwards, and your upper back is rotating on that axis of movement. Just keep moving from side to side. When you come back to the centre, just check in on those shoulders. Make sure that they haven't crept up towards your ears. Well done, looking good. Let your head go with that movement. So you're looking in the direction of the twist as if your nose and your breastbone are all in one line. Lovely. 1 more towards each side. Looking good, everyone. Well done. And then come back to the centre. Okay, we're going to keep the arms where they are. If you need to, just give them a quick shake out, then bring them back up, and then we're going to bend into the knees now. So as we sit back into our little squat, we're going to hold this position. Make sure you can still see your toes, and make sure your knees aren't caved into one another. This time we're going to hold the pelvic floor. So you're drawing in from your front back passage to your front passage, tucking that tailbone underneath as you do. Hold that squat position and then twist again. So it should feel harder to twist now because you can't move your pelvis at all as you're fixing it in that squat position. So as you twist from side to side, you should feel a nice stretch through your back. Also feel those muscles in your obliques, those crisscross muscles at the front of your tummy, working to stretch and twist. Lovely. Now we're keeping those knees bent because we want to warm those thighs up. You want a bit more of a challenge, you're going to sit a bit deeper into that squat, but just make sure you can still see your toes, or you can give them a little wiggle. Good. Watch those shoulders haven't crept up as those legs have got tired. It's amazing what these shoulders will do to try and help out. Okay, we're going to do a few more with the option for those of you that wanted to come onto tiptoes. You're pressing through the balls of your feet and lifting your heels off the floor. Now you will lose your toes behind your knees. So only do this if you feel comfortable with that in your knees. And it, of course, does challenge your balance. Good. One more on each side. Woo. It's hot in this loft. Okay, super. Lower those heels down. Push back up to stand, and you can uncross your arms. So hopefully you had a nice warm glow building up in those thighs. We're going to work on those legs a bit more now as we step wider than the hips. So feet nice and wide, and then just turn your toes to the corners of your mat or the corners of your room. Just start with a few pelvic tilts for me. So you've got that big bucket of water. You're just tipping your water out the front and the back of your bucket as you flatten your back and arch. Lovely. Now with these squats we're going to be working on in a moment, the idea with these is the top part of the posture stays nice and upright. So start just by tucking your tail underneath so your posture and your pelvis stays nice and flat, and you're just standing nice and tall. You stood against a wall and you're just sliding your back down a wall. You're coming up halfway, back down again, up halfway, back down again before you push all the way up. So 3 pulses. We feel a little bit of a theme with that in our warm-up. So just a little pulse at the bottom, pulse, and pulse nice and slow with those pulses though, with the goal of sending those knees in the same direction as your toes. So as you come down, you're squeezing your bottom together to open out the front of your hips. So really good for this area here, if you're tight in here. If you are stiff in your hips, you might find it tricky just to get deep into this one. But don't worry about that, just go to where you can and pulse at the bottom. At the same time, if you want to wet your pelvic floor, it's going to squeeze as you come up to stand, and you're going to really push your feet into the mat when you come to stand. Connecting your feet into the mat is going to really engage those glutes a little bit more, rather than just working on snapping the knees back to come to stand. Good, keep it going. 3 slow, steady pulses, and back up again. Nice, just make sure your knees aren't passing over your toes, so you've got a nice wide stance. They look great, everyone, good stuff. Okay, 2 more, as you are, and then we build. Lovely, now we're going to use the next one to set a squat, so go as deep as you can, 3 little pulses, and then hold once you're there, just checking on those knees. Push a little bit of weight to the outside of your feet so that the thighs and hips open up. And we're going to reach down to one knee, up with the other one, and we're going to come back to those 3 pulses, as we did a moment ago. Come back to the centre, straight over to the opposite side. Your option, if you wish to, is to stand in between. Yeah, and then reset that squat if you want a little break for the legs. Otherwise, just swap left and right. Okay, you're reaching down the side of the leg, sliding your hand down to pulse. Remember that neck is nice and long. You want to build up your endurance with your pelvic floor. Give it a good squeeze as you go. Let it relax and squeeze again. Good. 2 more on each side. These legs, if you've gone for a long hold, should really be wanting you to stand up now. If you can ignore them, do so, because you've only got 1 more. If you really need to stand up, do so by all means. And then if we all come back to the centre after this next one, and slowly come to stand. Give those legs a shake, but just keep your feet where they are. We haven't got a huge amount of thighs on the mat, so we're going to just hammer them now, and then we're going to go for tummies. So we're going to come back into that squat position. We're going to come back into our twists. So lowering down, as low as you're happy to go. Tail tucked underneath. Tummy is active. And we twist. So take that twist from side to side As you twist to the right, push your left foot into the ground. As you twist to the left, push your right foot into the ground. You should feel that twist come through a little bit more deeply. Good. Breathe out to twist and in to come back to centre. Lovely. Remember, you can stand in between if you need a rest. Try and keep that pelvis forwards. And then get stuck straight back in. Couple more on each side. Time flies when you're having fun. We're almost halfway. Okay, and then come back to the centre and shake out what you need to. Okay, feet are going to stay wide, but you can just turn your toes ever so slightly facing forward. So we're going to do a roll down, but just with this wide stance. You should feel it a little bit more in your groin now. So starting nice and tall, you can go straight into it if you want to. We're going to roll the chin down towards the chest. Now, sometimes with this you can feel a little bit unsteady as if you're going to topple over the front of your feet. So just take it easy as you roll down through your spine. We're aiming to get every bone in the spine moving one at a time. And then you're just hanging over soft knees or straight legs, depending on how happy you are with that. Just breathing when you get to the bottom. By all means, if you can get your hands down towards the floor, you can touch down. But just hang with what feels comfortable for you until you tuck back underneath and stack through to stand. And do 3 more of these. So when you get to the top, go straight back down again. Nice deep breaths as you move. Come and see how you're doing. That's great. Get one bone at a time as we move down through the roll downs. Really nice opportunity just to mobilise the spine. Keeping that breath nice and deep. Nice stretch at the bottom. Okay, coming up to your third and final one now. So rolling through your spine, hanging out at the bottom and breathing deeply. Okay, just soften your knees and do what you can just to come down onto your mat comfortably, where we're going to start resting on our backs. So come into rest position so we can work on our abs. Okay, so give you a minute just to adjust your cameras, but you've got your feet hip distance apart and your knees bent. If we all just start with some pelvic tilts, and then people can join in when they are comfortable. So just pressing the small of your back down into the mat and lifting, pressing down and lifting. Your back is on a sponge and you're squashing all the water out your sponge. Take a check of your knees, make sure they're not caved into one another. Your knees are in line with your hips. Put a rubber band on the outside of your knees and you're just gently pressing into it. Now pause at the position where your pelvis rests level. Okay, and we're going to work into that lower tummy now. So gently draw your tummy just below your belly button towards your spine. Float your first leg into tabletop, doesn't matter which one. And then we're going to tighten those spring coils that sit between our ribs and our waist. So just slide your ribs down, connecting into the mat so you can bring your second leg up. If you bring that second leg up, it should feel like a big shift of tension in your tummy. And then we slowly lower one leg down and replace the second leg afterwards. So one leg up, second leg meets it, using that increase in tension in your tummy to help. And then we slowly lower the legs down. Imagine that sponge in the small of your back. Try not to lift any pressure off that sponge as the weight of your legs lower. And if you've got enough left in your brain, think about alternating your starting leg. So left leg leads first, and then right leg leads, and you're just swapping from side to side. Now make sure with your tabletops that your knees are stacked directly over your hips, not closer, not further away. That is really key to make sure the abs are working well. And make sure those knees are bent at 90 degrees so that your ankles are resting in line with your knees and not hanging down like this. Okay, slowly one up, followed by the second one. If you need to, just hug those knees at any point and go again. Okay, lovely. So you should feel the tummy muscles now starting to feel the effects of that work. Good work, everyone. Nice. Okay, a couple more. We're going to build up through the abs. So at any point, if you feel like the next exercise is too much, come back to this single, single, and then single down, single down. Okay, I want you to pause in your double tabletop position. So you've got both knees stacked over your hips. Okay, now I'm going to go straight in with a more challenging option, and then I'll show you an alternative if this feels like it's too much. This is all about your control around your pelvis. So you're going to imagine you've got a tray of drinks resting on your waist, and you're going to take one of those drinks and place it on your right knee. Your right knee stays exactly where it is as you slowly let your left leg fall out to the side, keeping that double tabletop position. And then you sweep your left leg back in and replace the drink onto your left leg as your right knee sweeps out to the side. All the while keeping your knee stacked over your hip and your foot in line with your knee. I'm going to turn forward so you can see what that looks like from this position. So drink is here. The key is the leg that's not moving. It doesn't matter how far your moving leg goes. What matters is, can you move it with control? Another thing to think about is the hips. As your leg sways out to the side, is the opposite hip trying to lift off the floor? If that's the case, try and correct it. And if you can't, make your movement smaller. Now, if this feels like it's too much of a challenge, you're going to lose the double tabletop element. So you've got one leg in single tabletop, you float it out to the side, you bring it back in, lower the tabletop down, and then bring the other leg tabletop out to the side. So this is an advanced level of our hip twist exercise, all about pelvic control and stability. You will start to feel it in your thighs as well, especially after that little squat sequence at the start. Now, if you want to, just resting when you need to, otherwise keep going. I'm going to come and see how you're getting on with those. Beautifully done, well done. So remember those drinks, it's all about the drinks, not about the movement. Can you keep your knees still? Okay, you're going to take one leg out to the side and you're going to hold it there. Hold it there. Keep holding one leg to the side. 5, 4, 3, 2, 1. Bring it back in, either into tabletop or on the floor, and then repeat with the opposite leg. So sweep it out to the side. Really press that opposite hip down into the floor. Anchor your leg down. Imagine there's a magnet attached between your bottom and your mat. Don't lose the connection between that magnet. We're still holding the leg out to the side. 3, 2, and 1. So you can come back in. Hold that tabletop position, and we're just going to go straight into hundreds. So 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good stuff. Now you can hook your knees and gently rock from side to side on your mat. Good work. Okay, so a bit of pelvic control there with our hip twist. We're going to work on upper abdominal strength now with some ab day prep work. So to start with, let's just set the ab day prep. Create a cradle with your hands and support behind your head. Now the key with this is to not use the neck muscles, but use the upper tummy muscles. So think about 2 spring coils connecting your ribs towards your pelvis. We want to tighten those spring coils by driving the rib cage down towards the waist. As you do that, you can also think about connecting your ribs in towards the mat at your back. Okay, so what that looks like is pressing down and then floating the head and shoulders up and back down again. So we're not here. Yeah, it's this, press down, and then the head and shoulders should effectively feel like they're floating up. If they don't, over kind of emphasize that pressing down. Flatten your back into the mat and then lift up. And if that's still a challenge, don't lift your head quite so high. So it only needs to come high enough to slip a £5 note underneath, but really use that idea of connecting the rib cage into the mat Maybe even using your deep tummy muscles or your pelvic floor as we lift and lower, using that exhale to lift you up. Good. Pause it if you need to, and feel just to stretch out if you need to, and then join back in. I'm just going to come and check in on those. You've got a juicy peach between your chin and your chest. Don't squash your peach. And when you come up, you're looking a couple of inches above your knees, so you're not looking down towards your tummy, not looking behind you, just looking above your knees. Beautiful work. Well done. These are tough. I'm going to do a little bit more with them though. So if you feel like you just want to work on your work on your abdo prep here, that's fine. Or if you want to come back into double tabletop, this time with the knees squeezed together, we hold the tabletop as we work up and down, out and in. We've got 6 more. I'm aware you've done a lot more than me. 5 more, with or without the feet. 3, 2, we're going to go into hundreds. So if you want to lift the head and pulse the arms, if the head lift is too much, then lower it down. 10, 9, 8, 7, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and 1. Good stuff. Knees towards your chest. You'll be pleased to know we are done with abs. Okay, we're just going to come to finish with a little bridge sequence now. So we're going to flip the focus into the back of the body, but we're going to stay lying on our mats in the rest position. So feet hip distance apart, knees are bent. Come back to your pelvic tilts again. So just flattening the spine into the mat, easing away. That's going to initiate the movement of our bridge, because we know bridge is all about peeling away from the mat. So on your next pelvic tilt, just continue to press down into the mat, but then just peel from your tailbone up through your pelvis, up through your lower back, up to your middle back, and then to your shoulders, so your hips are lifted. Pause at the top, and then smooth your spine back down again. So ideally, we're trying to get every bone moving off the mat on its own before the next one moves. Imagine you are a piece of Velcro stuck on the mat. You're being peeled away. Slowly, slowly, slowly. Try not to collapse into your shoulders. Keep some weight into your feet. So when you get to the top of your next bridge, just try and push your knees towards your feet. You feel like you slide off your head when you do that. Slide off your shoulders, and you will feel, I promise, your hamstring muscles, big muscles at the back of your leg, will suddenly go, oh, that's how it's meant to feel. Okay, now it's still a good option to work on this pelvic control that we've been talking about. So on your next one, just let your hands gently rest on the top of your pelvis, and make sure your pelvic bones are sitting level as you're coming up into that bridge, and not dipping down to one side. If you're feeling any pinching in your back, really work on that scooping of your tailbone underneath, as that will keep your spine nice and long. Okay, I'm going to go for a few more just so I can come and see how you're getting on with those. Marvellous work, everyone. Good stuff. Okay, now you can just stick with working on the bridges as they are. We've got about 4 minutes left. Okay, I'm going to take you through a bit of a sequence just to progress them though. So do what you can with them. Okay, the next one we're going to hold a little while longer. Your first option as you hold it is just to do alternate heel raises. Now the key with this is that lovely control at your pelvis. So making sure your pelvis isn't dipping from side to side as you lift and lower each heel. It's up to you how many of those you do before you take a rest. Okay, second option, if you find the heel raises aren't too much of a challenge, is to add back in your tabletops. So one leg floats up, comes back down, and the other leg floats up. So a big challenge with tabletops, really making sure those pelvic bones are resting level. If you find them quite tricky, but you want to give them a go and you're comfortable with them, an option is just to pause in between. So float up into bridge, tabletop, the foot comes down, and then you lower and reset. Allowing for that reset will just make sure that everything's in good order before you go. So your options are just a bridge, up, down, don't worry about anything fancy. Second option is bridging with heel lifts, alternate heel lifts, yeah. Third option is tabletops with a little rest in between. Fourth option is tabletops until you are finished with your tabletops and take a rest. Okay, your back feels like it's pulling, just bring your knees towards your chest, flex that spine out before we go again. Lovely. Well done, nice options all round. Good. Okay, I'm going to give you your last little challenge, okay? You have two options now. We're going to work on that hip twist again that we worked on earlier. The first option is to do it with the feet connected into the mat, still in your bridge, so you peel your spine away from the mat. You've got a drink resting on one leg, and you just roll your knee out to the outer border of your foot, fold your knee back into your bridge position, and repeat that on the opposite side. So you can have a little pause in between, always lowering down, come back up again, or you just keep working left and right, okay? There's your first option, is your knee fallouts in bridge. The second option is to come into that higher level hip twist. So you float back up. I'd only do this option if you're comfortable with your tabletops a moment ago. Float the leg into tabletop, and then you bring it out to the side, bring it back in again, place it down, and swap over, out to the side, back in again, place it down. It's not the movement that matters, it is this pelvis. Doing it with control is key. And just keep an eye on your hips as well. Make sure they don't start to sag down with the weight of all of this effort, okay? Try and squeeze those hips, pushing your pelvis up towards the ceiling without overarching and flaring through the ribs. Okay, I'm just going to run through those options for you once more. You literally have 30 seconds or so left, okay? So you're either just working on bridges, lifting and lowering, that's fine. Or you're holding your bridge now and just working on letting the knees fall out from side to side, rolling to the outer border, back to the inside of the foot. Or your third option is tabletops and twists. So the knee is over the hip and we fall out to the side and back in. Now, whatever option you're doing it with a smile on your face, and you are going for 10 more seconds. So we've got 10, 9, 8, 7, well done everyone, 6, 5, 4, 3, 2, and rest there. Now I want you to all, wherever you are, finish there and give your knees a really tight hug, okay? Big squeeze of the knees towards the chest will open up all of those joints. The bridge pushes us into extension, but the knee hug brings us into flexion, and it feels really nice just to open up all those joints and stretch the muscles out that sit between the joints. Now we've done lots of hip twists, so let's finish with our level 2 hip twist. So we put the feet on the mat, feet and hips together, knees pressed together, arms out to the side, and just rock your legs across the width of your mat. Good stuff, okay, so you can carry on working here. A little bit of a swing from side to side. You can pause and stretch either side. You can come back and hug your knees towards you. But if you feel adequately worked and stretched out, then come and join me just to say goodbye.